If someone had told Zara that her gift would make others want to silence her forever, she would have laughed. But she learned the hard way that not everyone celebrates your light. Some people would rather put it out than let it shine brighter than theirs. Her name was Zara, and in her village of Bakari, they called her the Nightingale. She had a voice that could make the saddest person smile and the hardest heart soften. When she sang at the well, women would stop their work just to listen. When she sang at the market, traders would pause mid-bargain. Her voice was a gift from the gods, her mother always said. Zara lived with her elderly mother in a small mud house near the village square. They weren't rich, but they had enough. Her mother sold herbs at the market, and Zara helped her. Life was simple and peaceful until the day everything changed. The village chief announced that his son, Prince Kofi, would choose a bride. There would be a grand ceremony where every unmarried girl could perform for the prince. The girl who impressed him most would become his wife and the future queen of Bakari. Zara didn't plan to attend. She knew the other girls already whispered about her. But her mother insisted. "My daughter, don't hide your light because others are jealous of it. The gods gave you that voice for a reason." There were 3 girls who considered themselves the most beautiful and talented in the village: Leela, Maya, and Sade. They were inseparable, always walking together, always scheming together, and they all wanted to marry the prince. When they heard that Zara might compete, they gathered in secret. "If Zara sings, none of us stand a chance," Leela said bitterly. "Her voice is better than all of ours combined." "Then we make sure she can't sing," Sade replied, her eyes cold with calculation. They came up with a plan. First, they would befriend Zara and gain her trust. Then, on the day of the ceremony, they would give her special tea that would steal her voice. The next morning, the 3 girls appeared at Zara's house with honey cakes and bright smiles. "We wanted to apologize for how we've treated you. We'd like to be friends." Zara's mother didn't trust them, but Zara's heart was lonely. She wanted friendship, so she welcomed them. Over the following days, the girls visited often. They laughed with Zara, practiced their performances together, and acted like true friends. Zara began to trust them completely. Her mother warned her one evening, "My daughter, be careful. Snakes don't change their skin, they only shed it." But Zara didn't listen. She believed people could change. The morning of the ceremony arrived. Zara woke up excited and nervous. She had chosen a beautiful song about love and hope. She practiced it softly while getting dressed. Just before they were supposed to leave for the palace, the 3 girls arrived at her house. "We brought you special tea," Leela said, holding out a gourd. "It's made from honey and ginger. It will make your voice even more beautiful." Zara's mother was out selling herbs, so there was no one to stop her. Zara drank the tea gratefully, touched by their kindness. Within minutes, her throat began to burn. Then it went numb. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. She tried to scream, but nothing happened. Her voice was completely gone. The 3 girls looked at each other and smiled. "Oh no," Sade said with fake concern. "It seems you've lost your voice. What a shame. I guess you can't perform today." They left her there alone and crying silent tears. Zara fell to her knees, clutching her throat. How could she have been so foolish? Her mother had warned her, but she hadn't listened. When her mother returned home and found her, she was furious. "Who did this to you?" she demanded. But Zara could only point weakly in the direction the girls had gone. Her mother understood immediately. "We must get you to the palace anyway. The prince needs to know what happened." But Zara shook her head. What was the point? She couldn't sing, and without proof, no one would believe her story over theirs. At the palace, the ceremony had begun. One by one, the girls performed for Prince Kofi. Leela danced gracefully. Maya recited poetry. Sade sang a traditional song. Each one was good, but none of them touched the prince's heart. He sat on his throne looking bored and disappointed. Something was missing. Someone was missing. The chief noticed his son's mood. "What troubles you, my son?" "Father, I've heard stories of a girl with a voice like a nightingale. They call her Zara. Why isn't she here?" Just then, Zara's mother burst into the palace compound, supporting her weeping daughter. The guards tried to stop them, but the chief waved them forward. "What is the meaning of this?" the chief demanded. Zara's mother explained everything, her voice shaking with anger. The three girls immediately denied it. "We don't know what she's talking about. Zara probably lost her voice from nervousness and is making excuses." The prince stood up and walked towards Zara. He looked into her tear-filled eyes and saw the truth there. He turned to his father. "I believe her." The chief stroked his beard thoughtfully. "We need proof, but how can we prove what happened if the girl cannot speak?" An old healer who had been watching from the crowd stepped forward. "My chief, I am Mama Ya, the village healer. I know every herb and poison in this land. If you permit me, I can examine the girl and tell you what silenced her voice." The chief nodded. Mama Ya looked at Zara's tongue, smelled her breath, and pressed gently on her throat. Then she turned to the chief with a grave expression. "This girl was poisoned with silver thorn root. It paralyzes the vocal cords temporarily. It's not common knowledge, but someone who knows herbs would know exactly how to prepare it." She looked directly at the three girls. "It also happens that I sold silver thorn root to someone just 3 days ago, a girl who claimed she needed it to kill rats in her mother's grain store." Sade's face went pale. The chief's guards moved towards her. "Was it you?" the chief demanded. Seeing that they were caught, the three girls fell to their knees. They confessed everything, their jealousy, their plan, and how they had poisoned Zara's tea. The chief was furious. "You three will spend 6 months in confinement, and when you are released, you will be forbidden from attending any village celebrations for 2 years. Your jealousy has brought shame to your families." The guards led the crying girls away, but the prince's attention was still on Zara. "Mama Ya, can you heal her voice?" The old healer nodded. "Yes, my prince, the poison wears off in a few hours, but I can speed the process with the right remedy." She prepared an antidote right there, mixing herbs and honey in a bowl. She gave it to Zara to drink. "Rest your voice for 1 hour," she instructed, "then it will return." The prince wouldn't hear of Zara leaving. "Stay here, rest in the palace, and when your voice returns, I want to hear you sing." So Zara rested in a comfortable room while her mother sat beside her, stroking her hair. An hour passed, then Zara felt a tingling in her throat. She tried to speak and heard her own voice, soft at first, then stronger. "Mother," she whispered, "it's back, my voice is back." The prince was called, and he came with his father and the entire court. They all gathered to hear the girl whose voice had caused so much trouble. Zara stood before them, still wearing her simple dress, her eyes still red from crying. But when she opened her mouth to sing, the entire palace fell silent. Her voice was like water flowing over stones, like wind through the trees, like hope itself given sound. She sang about betrayal and forgiveness, about pain and healing, about truth surviving through darkness. Every person listening felt tears in their eyes. When she finished, the prince walked to her and took her hand. "I have found my wife," he announced. "This is the voice I want to hear every day for the rest of my life." The crowd erupted in cheers. Zara's mother wept with joy, and somewhere in the palace dungeon, 3 girls hung their heads in shame, finally understanding that trying to dim someone else's light only leaves you in darkness. Zara married Prince Kofi 3 months later. She wore a simple dress because she didn't need fancy clothes to be beautiful. When she sang at her own wedding, people came from neighboring villages just to hear her. Years later, when Zara became queen and had children of her own, she taught them an important lesson. "The world will not always celebrate your gifts," she would tell them. "Some people will be jealous, some will try to tear you down, but never let their darkness convince you to hide your light. Sing anyway, shine anyway, be excellent anyway." And whenever children in the village faced jealousy or betrayal, their parents would tell them the story of Zara, the nightingale whose voice could not be silenced, no matter how hard others tried. Because true gifts cannot be stolen, they can only be shared.